What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Bolin Sound Productions podcast. I'm your host, Brian Bolin, and today my guest is Ben Garland from the band In Last Place. Ben, what's up, man?
What's up, Brian? Thanks for having me on the show, dude.
Absolutely, man. I'm really stoked to have you here. You're one of my best friends, and I'm stoked to have you on the show as my first guest, and I'm really interested to see where this goes.
I'm extremely honored, actually, for you to ask me to do this. I was, something since you told me that you were going to do a podcast, I really wanted to be a part of it just because I'm a really big fan of the whole DIY community and just, doing it up. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. You're definitely a very interesting person in the the pop punk scene. I mean, because for me, when I see you, like, I don't just see like another dude in a band. Like, you're like the epitome of like the fan that everyone, like growing up listening to pop punk. I mean, being like a fan and watching like your idols on stage and stuff. It's a very powerful thing. I know for me, it was like when I saw Blink-182, for the first time, like when Enema of the State came out, and just seeing them with their Dickies and like their Hurley shirts and like all that, and it was just like such a profound experience for me. And I was like, that I get that. It was the first time in my life where I saw that, and I said, I want to be that when I grow up. Like, what was that moment for you growing up? And listen, what was the first like band you heard that was pop punk, and like what changed your life to make you want to play in a band today?
Honestly, it was when I was in middle school, and up until that point, I was just kind of listening to whatever, my parents listened to and, friends listened to. There was like a lot of Slipknot going around. Caught the Slipknot bug. I definitely did. I'm still a metalhead at heart. But I would say Green Day was the biggest one for me. That when I saw Billy Joe Armstrong just, in music videos and on magazine covers, I was like, dude, this guy does not care, about anything. And, I love that. Like, I don't care about anything. He doesn't care about anything.
He was the epitome of punk. And for that time, 10 years ago, before pre-American Idiot, I mean, he really had a stance. I mean, I think for our generation of, like, punk in your face. The songs were still catchy, but they weren't, like, too mainstream. Where it had this edge to where it's like, I identify with that. Yeah,
Nimrod actually was my first Green Day album that I convinced my mom to let me get. She was still a big advocate of those parental advisory stickers.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Oh my God, man. And it was 2 albums. It was that and the Eminem Show, believe it or not, that were my first 2, like, angry albums. And that's kind of what, gave me the introduction to like pissed off music, because the thing I love about pop punk is it's so poppy, but it's still pissed off. Like, there's still some pissed off vibes to it, and it's really, I think it speaks to a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
Absolutely. I think my the first album that I got besides the Star Wars A New Hope soundtrack and one of the Beatles albums, I rocked those pretty hard for many years. That's all I knew to listen to. And then, I think like I got like a Smash Mouth single. But like the first album I really remember getting into was Third Eye Blind's first album. And like I can still listen to that today. And like that album was just so far ahead of its time. And, when album came out right when I started playing guitar and singing. And I just posted a video like a month ago, I think, on my Instagram of... my dad was going through some old stuff and found the original cassette tape of me playing guitar for the very first time. I think it was like my second day singing and playing guitar to My Generation by The Who. And so, I mean, that was the beginnings for me. I must have been like 11 years old then. It was like right going into 5th grade, I believe. And it was a really special time. I couldn't believe that he found that. And I have a 15-second clip of me playing it with my my buddy from school. It was good times.
Yeah, it was. I actually watched that video on your Instagram. It was pretty funny to hear you.
My voice being really high.
Your voice was really high. It kind of sounded like mine now, like know. But yeah, so, no, it's fun times, man. It was really kind of cool hearing you jam out to that with your dad, because I know your dad too. Your dad's a great guy, and he's actually been kind of a mentor to me inadvertently. I don't think he knows how much he's kind of shaped my guitar playing just since I've been, you know, cutting some tracks at your studio, and you know, when I used to be in your band Enter the Paradox. He's definitely shaped my guitar playing and just my view of music a lot since I met him.
Yeah, for everyone who doesn't know, Ben used to play guitar in Enter the Paradox and bass for a brief amount of time as well. And you can see him in our first video for Sweet Intentions. He's rocking out in that video. And yeah, it was really fun having him in the band for that amount of time. And you know, we mutually decided to split ways from that, and now I'm producing his new band In Last Place. And yeah, and I would say that we've gotten even closer since then.
I think so too, man. It's a beautiful fit, really.
The funniest part about who's the closest to me in my life, besides like my family and my girlfriend, is all ex-members of Enter the Paradox.
That's crazy, yeah.
That's so weird.
That's crazy, because like I've been in bands before, and like, you know, it's ended, and it's not necessarily been like bad blood necessarily, but it definitely hasn't been like continued communication. And as far as growth, our friendship has even grown since that. And you know, you've shaped my view on music and recording and stuff. I've learned a ton from you, because I'm always the live show guy and the play guy and the write the songs guy. I'm not the mixing guy and the producing guy, but I've definitely started to develop and hone my skills a little bit since I started cutting tracks with you.
You definitely have. I mean, you can see that in some of the Bowl and Sound production recording and mixing videos, where I have 2 or 3 videos of me doing vocal production with your band. And you can see Ben in the video kind of, you know, producing vocals with me, with Mitch Jackson on the mic. And you know, Ben's got some really good ideas. He's really quick on his feet, and like I think he's starting to see that he definitely has that vision in his head of like how the vocals should sound as an end product. And that's a very different view of understanding how a vocal should be compared to live, let's say. Or even in songwriting. When you hear a vocal, I found that it can kind of be very different than what it's like in the studio. Because when you're in the studio, you see the limitations and the strengths of the singer in real time. Like, there's things that I'll think of in my head when I'm writing for, like, Enter the Paradox, let's say. And, like, I'll hear it in my head and say, I could do that logically. But then, you know, maybe I wrote it in a key where my voice couldn't actually go that high or that low or whatever it is. And, you know, then you see the limitations of like that, but then you work this on to your strengths. And I think that's something Ben has a really keen eye for when producing other people's vocals. And I could definitely see that being a, you know, something for you in the future of your career.
Oh, I plan on it. I plan on, you know, kind of stretching out a little bit, and in the downtime in between writing with Mitch, I plan on, you know, maybe working with you on some of your artists, or maybe scouting some of my own artists and trying to start my own stuff. But no, it's definitely something I plan on working on. And you know, like when I'm writing with Mitch, he comes up with a lot of the melodies, and a lot of his melodies are pretty on point. And you know, we don't really change a whole lot, but there's just certain things where in the studio we've had to change. But you know, when it's awesome. Mitch and I, just when we get together, it just flows. You know, sometimes it's taken us maybe 10 minutes to write a song. Like I've literally had like the skeleton guitar wise of a song, and I'll just play it for him, and he's like, "That's great, man. I already have lyrics for that." And we'll just like go over
That's
it.
That's one of
the
coolest parts about working with you guys in the studio. It's like the epitome. Not only are you guys like the epitome, like dream project for me, because like you guys, we all listen to the pretty much the exact same style of music, not just pop punk, you know, but a lot heavier bands as well. And so we get where we're all coming from when it comes to a production and songwriting standpoint. And then also too, like Mitch is a really quick songwriter when it comes to lyrics and melodies. He's just on top of that, he's really easy to coach.
It just comes naturally for him.
Some musicians really aren't coachable in the studio, and
yeah.
Mitch is very coachable. Like he's very much willing to listen to, you know, how to make the song the best it can be, and that's really hard to find in a vocalist. And if you're a vocalist for, you know, lead singer of your band, be coachable for the producer, because the producer wants to get the end best product for you. They're not trying to, like, you know, change they might be, but usually they're not trying to completely change the song from you. They're trying to make it the best it can possibly be because they do this every day in and out. Like, we all have the same goal, is to make music and make something that people are going to vibe with and feel something from. And part of the producer's job when in the studio and doing vocal production is to make the first thing people connect with is the vocalist. So people aren't feeling a connection from that vocalist, the song's really going to suffer. So really listen to the producer, and if you're a band and you're not working with a producer or at least someone working on vocal production with you, I highly recommend to hone in on that, because it'll really take your song from, maybe if it's like a 7 or an 8 to a 9 or a 10.
Yeah, and I mean, besides listening to the producer, you know who else appreciates it, Brian?
Who?
The guitar player.
Oh.
Yeah. No.
Let's get into that a little bit. I was gonna talk to you about your guitar playing. I mean, there's something very interesting off the bat with Ben's guitar playing that I really took notice to, and just in the last like 6 months, I really started noticing this. When you play guitar, your pick attack on the strings is very unique, and your attention to detail with that pick attack is very prominent. And where do you get that from? And for some guitar players who might not think about that, the pick attack is one of the most important things that you can do when you're recording. Live, it's not as noticeable, but recording, that's where the tone comes from. You can get 10 guitar players in a room and play a Dimebag Darrell solo, but only Dimebag's going to play it that same way. And you can get 10 other guitar players in a room and like have an In Last Place song and have Ben play on it, and he's going to make it sound that way. It's a very, very particular thing, and it's all in the tone in the right hand. It's not in the amp settings, it's not in the guitar, it's not in the pickups. All those things matter, but it has to come from the source. It starts with the right hand and the picking. And when Ben picks on his guitar, even if it's just muted riffs or even just strumming chords, he's hitting the pick with a certain way on the strings, where it has this attack and this transient. For those of you who don't know, the transients, usually we're talking about drums, when it's the first initial spike in waveform that hits in a waveform information, or like sound bites. So guitars are virtually transientless. So when you get a really good guitar player who comes in, it's taking a lot of attention to detail to that. That's really important in making your recording go to the next level.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always really been into a lot of groove heavy riffs rather than like thrashy riffs or like melodic riffs. I'm all about groove and the way that everything works together, and just the way my attack, I get into it, full body. I get into it, and I've kind of developed it. I'm a big Metallica fan, all Metallica, 90s Metallica even. So if we just lost some listeners, I'm sorry, but I think I kind of get that from James Hetfield a little bit, just from like watching him and just trial and error. To be honest. Another thing that helped shape it was playing Enter the Paradox, because there were some challenging riffs for me, because I've never played that style before, and there's a lot of chord changes and a lot of different, just interesting time signature stuff, and as much left hand stuff as there is for you as the lead in Enter the Paradox, there was a lot of right hand stuff for me, and that really rhythm-wise. Rhythm-wise, and that actually really helped shaped it. And it's really important, like you said, like anyone, you can get 10 people in a room and they can play a Dimebag solo, and the only one that can sound like Dimebag is Dimebag, and because trust me, I've tried and it doesn't work at all. But yeah, so I just kind of developed it just over the years. I've been playing guitar for a really long time, and it wasn't always like that. And it's something that, I'm constantly striving to be better at. I'm always trying to learn, and I'm always open to suggestions. Because thank you for praising my pick attack, but there's definitely been times, I can tell you guys at home, that in recording this EP, our debut EP, there's been plenty of times where I've had to do multiple takes because Brian has been like, you're not hitting that right, I need more attack, try to get more attack, try to clean it up. And it's just kind of that like drill sergeant-y nice drill sergeant. You're not a a jerk drill sergeant, but nice drill sergeant stuff that just kind of help shape it. And now it just comes naturally to me. And when I pick up a guitar and when I write a new song for In Last Place, or even when I'm just like bored and just jamming at my apartment, like it's just something that I'm always doing. And it's just muscle memory too. Once you get used to a certain way you hold the pick, and a certain pick you use, you always do that. Like I only use Dunlop green Tortex sharp picks because that's just what I've become accustomed to.
What strength?
I don't. You know what? That is a good question. Next time,
I think you had mediums. I think the greens are mediums.
They're not. They're hard. They're heavy.
Oh, okay.
Do I have one here?
Yeah,
I have one
right
here. I carry them wherever I go. Doesn't
doesn't say.
Yeah, it doesn't say. It's heavy though. Trust me, it's heavy.
0.88 millimeters.
0.88 millimeters. That's what I meant to say 50 seconds ago. All right.
Well, I think too when you come to the studio with me, it's like when you're gonna play guitar that like I think in your head you think that I'm gonna be more drill sergeant-y on parts than maybe you think that I'm going to be. So you kind of come in and get the part down a lot quicker, which is I think is a good thing to have that in the back of your mind to be. It's very important to be for that attention to detail to be there because. I mean, yeah, it's like I could go in and beat detective your DI, guitar parts, but there's something about the way of doing it naturally that it will always sound better if you can get it without any time correction programs.
Yeah. Yeah, there's times where, I come in the studio and there's, to be honest, there's days where I nail it, you've seen it, and then there's days where we're having a little bit of struggle, and that's just being human, and that's just being, an artist, and, for those listening at home, we're the hardest on ourselves more than anyone else is in our lives because we're artists, and that's what we do, but, I always appreciate feedback, and I look forward to studio days with you, dude. I really do.
I do with you as well. So, what's your songwriting workflow like? For In Last Place.
For In Last Place, I'm constantly playing guitar, so I'm just jamming and, jamming other songs of pop punk bands I like too, just playing around. And to be honest, sometimes the riffs just come naturally, and I kind of stockpile riffs, and whenever I have a really good riff, I put it on my iPhone, which has been a saving grace in today's music industry, I feel like,
here.
with the voice memo thingy. And I'll just save it, and if there's a certain riff that sticks, I will literally just play it over and over for hours, just so, not egotistically, but just so stoked on it because I can't believe I wrote that, like, because I'm so hard on myself, and
well, it's like what I was saying in the episode, the first episode about you have to be inspired by what you're doing.
Exactly. You have to have fun. And first and foremost, I'm a fan. I still go to shows. I love going to shows. Like, there's nothing better to me than just putting on, music in the car and just jamming out. And I still listen to, a lot of 2004 albums, 2006 albums that aren't quote unquote maybe relevant anymore in some people's eyes, some of the younger kids' eyes, but to me it hits home, and some of the riffs in the song. So the way my workflow is, to answer the question, is I kind of just stockpile riffs, and if I have a really good riff, I usually start with the intro riff. Funny enough, it's either the intro riff or the chorus or the hook that I write first, and if I'm really excited about it, I will sit there and I won't let myself put that guitar down until I write the rest of that song that goes with it. If it's something that I love, but it might need to grow on me a little bit, because there's some riffs that do need to grow on me that I even write myself, or if I need to fact check it, aka listen to other songs, make sure it doesn't sound exactly like another riff.
Ooh, I have a funny story about that.
Yeah, we'll get to that, because I do too.
Okay.
It has a certain scrapped album feel, if you remember what I'm saying about the song that Mitch and I recorded with the woes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what my workflow is. It's just very organic. It's very natural. A lot of it just comes from me just hanging out in my apartment and just playing guitar.
One of my favorite parts about your guitar playing, besides the pick attack, is the riffs that you write. They're very, very, for pop punk, you don't necessarily think of pop punk as a riff-based guitar, heavy music in that sense. But You'll write some really cool riffs that are I don't even know how to explain it. It almost reminds me of something like Tom Morello would write for pop punk almost.
Oh
Like
my god.
it's
Thank
very
you.
abstract and it's very progressive, and that's why I really like it a lot. Um, you write those very naturally, and you find a way to make it work in this genre too, which is one of the reasons why I think In Last Place stands out as being unique.
Thank you. I mean, I really appreciate that. I don't really have a sound in mind when I start to write a riff. All I know is that when I do write a riff, and I write tons, and I throw away tons, I'll know right away if a riff is going to work for In Last Place or if it's not. And, In Last Place has a very, I think, specific sound, but we don't want to be too boxed in. We foreshadowing, we definitely are going to play around with some stuff in the future with future releases, future singles, stuff like that. But,
You mean style wise?
style wise. And today the pop punk scene is littered with so many bands. And, every other week there's a new pop punk band. And, I love all of them for what they are. Some more than others. I won't name names. But it's now, in my opinion, back in the day when Yellow Card, Newfound Glory, Blink-182, Good Charlotte, even stuff like that, like those were very like guitar-driven songs. Like there were a lot of guitar-driven songs, and that's what I'm trying to bring back a little bit because that's the music that I love. But also trying to incorporate the newer style, which is a little bit more vocally driven.
I feel like it's more lyrically driven as well. The new
Yeah, it's definitely
wave
more
of pop
lyrically
punk.
driven. But so we're trying to incorporate a lot of stuff while still having fun because when we start playing shows and we want the kids to jump around and we want to jump around, we just want to have a good time is what we want to do. Because when Mitch and I decided to start this band, we were literally sitting on the doorstep at my mom's house. It was like nighttime. We were about to like go get some tacos or something. I don't even know. I love tacos, but and we just said, man, like we've been in so many bands, not even together, just so many bands, and like it stopped being fun after a while, and we just want it to be fun. So that's in the forefront of our minds when we write a song. When we know when it's a right song, because when we get together and we write songs, it's fun and we can see it in each other's face, and there's
Let's
that.
speak to that for a second.
Yeah, there's
about,
that aha moment.
It being fun, because there's a lot of different ways to look at this, and I know like the high school me would be like, okay, how are we gonna make this fun? And like I want to speak to all the musicians out there about this, because there's a lot of different ways to look at this, and Ben and I have talked about what this means, and
Many times.
Yeah, and like what it means in the bigger picture, and I think this is a good thing to talk about to the audience is like, okay, so like the high school version of me is like, okay, fun is just like playing shows, doing band practice, like having fun, recording music, no bad vibes. If something goes wrong, we'll work it out and then we'll keep moving on. And in the real life, it's like for things to stay fun, especially post high school, there needs to be some income. There needs to be a product. There, like, albums. There needs to be, shows played where, you're not constantly doing pre-sale shows or like pay to play, however you want to look at it. All those factors really matter. So, and like it's like there's gonna be a couple guys in the band that'll be like they'll put up with it and keep doing it and it's all good. But then there'll be a couple of those people in the band too, where either the girlfriend will start ragging on them and say, hey, you need to make some money, or you need to do this, this, and this to do this to pay these bills, and then it's not fun anymore. So post high school, playing in a band, it's like really important to keep all those things in mind. Like, okay, so how do I take care of these quality problems, like taking care of the bills, making sure this is handled so that when I get to do the band, it is all fun. And like that can still be there, and that is still there. But I think, being an adult and really making sure that everything else in your life is handled, and that's a group responsibility. It's a band member responsibility at a certain stage to make sure everyone's doing what they need to do individually so that the group can come together stronger than ever to ensure the mutual success of the band.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, like I have a 9-to-5 job, and that's how I pay my bills. And it's very, very important to kind of be on the same page with all your band members, and communication is key.
Everyone has a different idea of what fun means, and
Everyone
everyone has a
an
different idea of what commitment means. Remember when at the Enter the Paradox practice, I sat everyone down and I said, "What's everyone's version of commitment? What does that mean to you?"
Yeah, I don't even remember what I said.
Yeah, everyone was just kind of like shocked, and I was because it occurred to me
profound.
that everyone has a different version of what commitment means to them, especially being in a band. Like you'll see in ads all the time, 100% committed, 100% tour ready, 100% committed. But it's like if you don't have that initial talk and everyone, you'll be really surprised. Sit everyone down in your band and ask them, what does commitment mean to you? And just ask everyone individually, and I guarantee you they're all going to have different answers.
We're going to break up a lot of bands today, Brian. No,
I'm not saying this is a bad thing. These are like the things you need to talk about to ensure the mutual success of a band, because if everyone has different ideas of their vision of the future, it's going to be how you're going to go one direction.
Exactly. Do you mean like actually One Direction, or like One Direction the band?
I was thinking of actually One Direction into the future.
Oh, okay, gotcha, yeah. So I'm just clarifying. Yeah, and just to touch on what you said, being adult about it and being realistic about it, I think is a very big part in it. I'm transparent. You can ask me anything. You know this, Brian, and I'm very real, and I will tell you, like it is. And I've struggled for years, with other bandmates and band members, like, oh, they're not as committed as I am, blah, blah, blah. And, after really doing some soul searching work on myself, and talking with you about it, everyone does have a different level of commitment. And it doesn't mean that it's better or worse, but you need to be on the same page and have that open avenue of communication and talking to each other. Regular band meetings, I feel like, are a must. And if you can't have regular band meetings just because of scheduling, phone calls, just call your other band members, man. It's a family, and that's one other thing that Mitch and I decided when we decided to start this project. It's gonna be fun, it's gonna be family, and everything's gonna be equal. Everything's gonna be equal. Everyone has equal say, and that in some avenues I could see how that would make for a tougher go of it. If no one is agreeing. But, if that, I feel personally, for me, this is not Brian's view. This is, it might be, but this is in no way, him. I don't know what I was saying. I had a brain fart. Anyway, so just, have that open communication, and everything I say on this podcast is my personal view. It's not the view of Bolin Sound Productions or any other partner entity.
Let me clarify what Ben's trying to say, because the cat is out of the bag in the forefront right now. So I have a view of, when it comes to I'm a splitting percentages kind of guy, and I also, that goes to say the band, in my situation, with Enter the Paradox. This is okay. This is a good thing to talk about, because I've always been the main consistent person. So I had to, start thinking like a business person, in the sense of okay, I have this clear vision for this project. Some people say they're committed, and then they leave a couple months later, or 6 months down the road, or a year down the road.
Like Ben Garland.
And this can come up in so many different bands and situations. So I just kind of had to come to a realization. I was like, okay, if I see the vision, I want to see this through. I kind of have to take the reins on this and channel my creative direction and hone it in with me being the primary writer, writing pretty much everything. And with that, the fair due credit should come with that as well. And with the Enter the Paradox situation, it just kind of makes more sense for it to be that way. But however, in last place kind of way, they built it off the foundation of everything being equal, and both those things are totally fine. There's not one right way or one wrong way. It's just two different ways of thinking. And as like I was saying earlier, as long as you have a clear direction of the future and everyone's on board with that, that's how you're going to take your band and your business to the next level.
Yeah, and it is a business at the end of the day. And, there's many ways to run a business, and there's different ways to skin a cat, and neither one is right or wrong. It's just what we chose to do, and it's just what you chose to do. And sorry for that brain fart a minute ago. I don't know what happened.
Well, for me, it was more of a matter of survival, but also too the possibility of I'm good enough to take this on my own. And that was a very powerful moment for me to say, because I've grown up like kind of relying on people my whole life, relying on other band members, relying on other, a manager or the A&R person, or my parents or whoever it is. And for me, I had all these events in my life that came up where constantly said, not necessarily like you're alone, you're on your own, you're all by yourself, you got to take this on. Not necessarily like that. It was like you have an opportunity to take this on and prove to yourself that you are good enough to take this to the next level, by yourself for a lot of the time. Granted, right now Reed's in the band with me and he plays drums, and and we're doing our thing right now. But coming up, it was very rough doing everything on my own most of the time, and I just had to keep my head above water. And if you're doing that right now too, just keep pushing on. Sometimes it's really hard to find the right band members for the project to take it to the next level. So with that, yeah, moving on. So Ben, as far as like pop punk and like what it means to you and your youth, like how has it shaped your life today, like pop punk in general? Because like I know for you, like if pop punk wasn't around, like you'd be a much different type of person.
I'd be way different.
Yeah.
You
like
know,
how has that allowed you to thrive in your life?
It's allowed me to thrive in my life just in the aspect of getting through a lot of stuff and just having that soundtrack to your life. I know how cliche and like, tiptoe through the daisies that sounds, but like pop punk to me is really a soundtrack to my life. Breakups, they sing about breakups a lot. Like they sing about like friends a lot now, and like pizza, and I love pizza. Like that's a soundtrack. I'm sorry, that's a soundtrack. No, it really is a soundtrack to my life, and it helps keep me positive. In today's world, a lot of stuff gets lost in the shuffle, and there's a lot of negativity around, and just that uplifting. I mean, even if it's a depressing song, like "Stay Together for the Kids" by Blink-182, that song is sad, but the guitar in the chorus is so uplifting and empowering that it brings a new light to that song. It's very sad if you listen to the lyrics, but they did a great job musically of making it very powerful and emotional with the build up into the chorus. So it just helps keep me positive, and it's kind of like the hardcore scene, because I'm a big hardcore fan too. There's a lot of unity in it. And, you get a bunch of people in a room together that are strangers. I guarantee you the hardcore kids will find each other like within 2 minutes, and the pop punk kids will find each other within 2 minutes, and they will start listening to music, and they will start, they will be there for each other, and they'll pal around, and that's like their person. Like
that's so funny you said that, because I was at the gym the other day, and there's this dude there and we keep seeing each other, and then eventually we went up and like said hi and started talking, and we're like, why do you look so familiar, man? And he's like, and we found out it was like, oh dude, I think I've seen you at shows, like I've seen you in the pit, like hardcore dancing.
Yeah, I've seen
and
so
it was
many
like
people.
So random, and I was just like, I know I've seen this dude before.
Yeah, and everybody at shows talks to each other, you know what I mean? Like
that's what's cool about like the hardcore and pop punk scene. It's like there is a lot of unity, like you were saying. Like it's not like you go to like a Disturbed show and everyone's trying to act too hard or too cool for school, and like that's what's really cool about it. It's like we're all connected in this really cool way.
Yeah, I definitely think that it is a family, and I love it, and I hope it always stays that way. I think it'll always stay that way, you know what I mean? As long as there's always going to be pop punk, there's always going to be the blues, there's always going to be metal. Like these are...
Pop punk has definitely established itself in that vein, I think, for sure, where it's becoming more of a staple. As long as it doesn't get too saturated and all the bands don't sound too similar, which is... We're kind of in a situation like that right now, where there's like 4 bands that really stand out from the herd, like Chunk No Captain Chunk, A Day to Remember, and a couple other ones that really stand out.
Those are pop punk-ish bands. I wouldn't necessarily
no,
call
I know.
them, but I get what you're saying.
The true core like pop punk stuff right now it is getting very saturated though. So I think for it to move on to remaining a legacy genre, it's gonna take I don't know, just something to make it more special. And to be honest, I think In Last Place has that. I think and I said that from the beginning recording with you guys, like you guys definitely have something special about your music where you can get people from other styles listening to it and vibing to it, and that's something that's really important.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I paid him $20 to say that. I'm just kidding. I'm
Hey, you
kidding.
know what? Why don't we show everyone your guys' latest single?
Yeah, I brought in this track. It's actually the first song that we wrote together, Mitch and I. It's called "Until You Wake Up," and I really hope you guys enjoy it. We had a lot of fun writing it and recording it.
Here we go. Enjoy, guys.
What's your intention? I forgot where this was going. And what's your motive? Because you're playing on my insecurities. And where's the message? I swear I saw a few. And where's the loving that I thought I knew from you? How's it gonna work out when I pretend I never knew you? I left the porch light on and you were sleeping under it. I should have been with you instead of out with my friends. I know you needed me and you thought that this was love. So I will sit right here and bide my time until you wake up. Going down, looking at the streetlights. The sights, they become unbearable. Car sirens and wooden floors will not bring me to your door. You are impartial to the reservation I have had. And I am a skeptic to the ones I knew they weren't half bad. How's it gonna work out? Now that I'm sick of saying sorry, and where does my heart lie now? 'Cause now I see you're kinda boring. Stalling breakups, false accusations, terrible timing, sexual frustration. I left the porch light on and you were sleeping under it. I should have been with you instead of out with my friends. I know you needed me and you thought that this was love. Until you wake up. I left the porch light on and you were sleeping under it. I should have been with you instead of out with my friends. I know you needed me and you thought that this was love. Bide my time. Bide my time. Come on. So I'm gonna sit right here and bide my time until you wake up.
All right, guys, that was In Last Place. The song is called Until You Wake Up. And I gotta tell you, Ben, I had a lot of fun recording that song and, producing vocals with you guys on that. And I'm really proud of that mix and excited about how it came out. But something that we haven't talked about in terms of, your songwriting and production and all that is what are some of your influences on this song and the album?
Starting off with this song, if you couldn't notice by the verse, Yellow Card was a big factor in it.
Okay.
There was a little bit of Yellow Card. There was a little bit of All Time Low, even. I mean, they're one of my guilty pleasure bands. I don't care how many girl fans they have. They're a solid band. And those were, I would say right now, those were my two main influences. And the thrashy riff was was very much new style. Like the intro riff was very much a new style pop punk, kind of, that fast and furious, like just going for it.
Almost reminds me of like
Riffage.
Eminem's kind of by Blink-182, like something off of like Dude Ranch almost.
Yeah, Dude Ranch was a good album. I'm a big Blink fan, so that definitely probably shined through on a lot of stuff. Maybe without me even knowing it, but I would say definitely Yellow Card and All Time Low were my two biggest. Oh, and Sum 41. Sum 41 was a big influence too for me on this song. But those are my three mains on this song. On the album, I'm just trying to incorporate all my bands that I love. Our previous single, Cut All Your Ties, there's an obvious like Chad Gilbert shout out riffage on there, because I'm a big Newfound fan. So I would definitely say the previous ones I said in Newfound are probably my biggest influences, at least for guitar playing. I know Mitch has his own vocal influences. We're actually both really into State Champs, which, they're coming up so fast, and I'm really proud of them. I don't know them personally, but I'm proud of them just from, hearing about them. And then all of a sudden they're, doing the AP World Tour with Neck Deep, who's also another newer band that we love. And so vocally, I know that Mitch is very, very influenced by Derek, the singer from State Champs, and just a lot of his inflections and his delivery, and even some of his lyrics too, probably like his song style. But those are my influences.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I think this is a good place to wrap up the show. But I want to thank you for having you on.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. If you want me on this show again ever, I will do it in a heartbeat. That is for sure.
Cool. I think something that would be cool in the future is maybe doing some like album reviews.
Oh.
And it would be fun to do that with you.
I will tear those albums apart.
All
As a
right.
fan, he can tear...
Not
Brian,
critiques, but reviews.
Reviews. Sorry, my bad. Brian can definitely review from a production standpoint, but I could probably review from a fan standpoint.
That's what's something that I like about your ear. You hear things in that way.
I do. I'm an album guy. I'm not a single guy. I listen to albums from front to back.
Yeah, you listen to the last song to the first song on an album.
Over
I remember when you told me that.
And over. Do you know how many
That's
times
so
I listened
crazy.
to Lies for the Liars by The Used in the past 4 days? 6.
Awesome. And also, if you guys are interested in getting more information on In Last Place, their music is available on iTunes and Google Play. Until You Wake Up is exclusively available to listen to on YouTube right now. It will be available on iTunes and Google Play very soon, and the album will be available very soon as well. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to leave a comment if you like this episode, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys in the next show. Thanks for watching.